Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Center for Victory's webinar, Supercharge Your Sales. My name is Lisa Sable, and I'm an executive consultant here at CFB. At Center for Victory, we're here to help unlock, reinforce, and enrich relationships through personal and professional development. So today we're going to talk about sales, more specifically, salespeople. I'll share my experience and beliefs in what to look for in a good salesperson. We'll talk about the reasons good salespeople can be really difficult to manage. And I'll give you my tips on how to manage salespeople to keep them motivated and engaged. Now, this is going to be a real practical session. I've been in sales for more than 3 decades, and I've managed salespeople in the area of business development in a variety of industries, including media, technology, and executive coaching. So here's what I've learned. Please don't touch your face. Okay, now to today's business at hand. Key takeaway number 1 here. Hire for drive and teach for skill. Now, what I mean by this is that with salespeople, behavior is everything. You can teach your salespeople about your product or service, but finding someone who's really willing to put themselves out there and subject themselves to rejection over and over again in order to win a sale takes a certain kind of behavior. So we're going to talk about that behavior, but first, I'm going to share with you a true story. And this is about someone I actually worked with in the radio business. I spent 16 years in the radio business, and in one position, I managed 22 salespeople, specifically in business development. Now, there was this one very challenging salesperson. I'll call her Sally. That's not her real name. And I actually had a real love-hate relationship with her. Now, why, you may ask? Well, 1, she was smart, she was confident, she was competitive, very independent. Quite frankly, all the things I really treasured in a salesperson. But she was also completely independent, extremely individualistic, and all about herself. Furthermore, she was terrible with her paperwork. And to make matters worse, she would come into my office about every 2 weeks, we had offices back then, and say, "Lisa, we need to have a chat." She would say, "I have a prospective client that I think I can close if ... Now, I don't even know where to begin with those ifs. Those ifs had really bizarre payment terms. They include barter arrangements and, quite frankly, deals that I didn't even understand. And then she would end the sentence with, "Do you want the business or not?" So yeah, I really hated her. And quite frankly, I really loved her. I hated her because she had to be different. She couldn't follow the rules. And I loved her because she was, quite frankly, the reason that we hit our sales goals. I needed her. She brought in business that no one else, and there were 21 other salespeople, that no one else could. So bottom line, I think I hated her for the same things that I loved her. And as time went by, I started to realize the value that she brought to the organization. And I started to think that I could actually use one more person like her. Now, not an entire staff, mind you, but just one more. So who was she? And what made her tick? So to understand that, we really need to understand that when we hire someone, the whole person shows up at work. And usually when hiring an individual, we tend to look at their knowledge and their skills and experience. And then when we bring them in for an interview, we try to uncover things like their values and their passions. Now, when it came to Rockstar Sally, it wasn't her resume or experience, or her interests for that matter, that made her act the way she did. It was her head. It was how she was wired. that made her so individualistic and basically never take no for an answer. So getting inside someone's head is really where you learn what makes someone tick. Now let's talk about behavior in the workplace. I use the predictive index because based on my years of experience, PI quickly and accurately gets to those specific behavioral drives that were really meaningful to success on the job, particularly in sales. Now, I'll say that it's very meaningful for most positions, but today we're talking about sales. So all our actions begin with drives, and some drives are innate, some are learned, some are developed through experience, and it doesn't matter where they come from. The bottom line is our drives become hardwired as we mature, and these drives create needs, and our behavior is a response to those needs. So at the top, the dominance drive is that drive to exert one's influence on people or events. If a person feels that strongly, they may feel a need to win and to accomplish things, to make an impact. Sounds like a salesperson to me. The next drive, the extroversion drive, which is the drive for social interaction with other people. Someone who feels that strongly feels this need to connect and talk things through with others. And the stronger the drive, the more enthusiastic and influential the behavior. Again, sounds like the behavior of a salesperson. The next drive, the patience drive, which is the drive for consistency and stability. A person who feels this strongly may feel that likes familiarity and prefers to remain stable and consistent, and is probably not a big fan of change and intense pressure. Now, in the radio business, airtime not sold today was gone forever. So there was a lot of intense pressure. So I wasn't necessarily looking for someone with a high degree of patience. And the last drive, the formality drive, is the need for the drive to conform to rules and structure. And a person who feels this strongly feels a need for clarity of expectations and an understanding of best practices and what rules and what right looks like. Now let's look what behavior, the actual behavior is for someone who feels those needs. As you see here, someone with high dominance, their behavior may look like they may come across as independent and assertive and self-confident. Someone with low dominance is more agreeable and they seek harmony and more about the team. So as we go through these behavioral drives, think about your organization and the role of a salesperson, what they would need to exhibit in your organization. And remember, the more intensely each drive is felt, the louder that behavior will manifest. So again, someone with high extroversion drive, they'll be outgoing, empathetic, influential. They meet new people easily. Again, someone that sounds like a salesperson to me. The next drive, the patience drive, someone that exhibits high patience. They are calm and deliberate and steady and comfortable with the familiar. Someone with low patience is more fast-paced and driving and has a sense of urgency. And the formality drive, someone that feels that drive strongly, their behavior, they'll be more precise and organized and have a high attention to details. Where someone with low formality, they will be a little more casual and more tolerant of risk and uncertainty. So what I want to share with you is what Rockstar Sally, what her behavior looked like. So you'll see in blue, I highlighted the behaviors that she exhibited on the job. And you'll notice her dominance and her extroversion were both high. Now, I didn't highlight under extroversion, empathetic and socially poised. And I'll say that because her dominance was so high that her assertiveness was almost bordered aggressiveness. And therefore, she was a little less empathetic and sensitive to other people's feelings. She was more about getting her point across. Now, her low drives were her patience and formality. And what this looked like, the big reveal in terms of what her behavioral profile was like, looks like this. And if you are using predictive index, this will be familiar to you. Here's the midpoint. Anything to the right of the midpoint is considered high, and anything to the left is considered low. So look how dominant Sally was, and look how low her formality is. So she was very independent, very assertive. She was a winner. And her, a true story, you see her low formality. She would come to me at the beginning of every fiscal year and say to me, okay, Lisa, what's my number? Meaning, what was her revenue goal she had to hit? And I would tell her, and I'd say, well, this year it's 1.6 million. And she'd go, got it. She didn't want to know anything else. She didn't want to know how she was supposed to get it, when she was supposed to get it. It was just all about her having no handcuffs put on her, not being micromanaged, being independent, and just letting her do her thing. Now, again, I could not survive with 22 salespeople consisting of her profile, particularly with this low formality. There needed to be some structure. So for most of my team, I was looking for a slightly tamer, more modified profile. And this is what I was looking for. For my new business development people, this top profile, which we'll call the new account hunter profile, was similar to Rockstar Sally with one major exception. Her formality, the formality I was looking for, which was still low, but it wasn't low off the charts. It was to the right of her patience, meaning that this person I was looking to hire was willing to break through gatekeepers, was willing to go out there and and face rejection. Also had high extroversion, meaning they were willing to go out there and they liked to meet people. They liked to be influential. Low on the patience drive because they were driving. They had this, they did well under pressure, and they had low formality, but they understood that there was a need for basic organizational rules and structure. Now, we also had existing account farmer salespeople. That's a different kind of person, and you may have that in your organization. For someone, once a client comes in the organization, notice how the desired dominance factor goes from a high dominance to a below the midpoint dominance. More collaborative and team focused, because this person doesn't have to get through gatekeepers and get someone to respond to them that won't respond to their email. These clients are already part of their family, so they're part of the team. And that's how this account manager is treating them. You'll also notice their formality factor is now high, because as account managers bring clients into the company fold, there are more norms and policies that clients need to adhere to. And that's really required in order to scale an organization. So this is what I was looking for when I was hiring salespeople, specifically in the radio business. Now, your business might be different. What do I mean by that? Well, for instance, if you have a highly technical sale where the customer is a highly technical person, say an engineer, that person, new business person, salesperson, may require higher formality, because that means that they get more into the details. They are able to provide more data and more information. And let's say your sale is a really long sales cycle. Maybe it takes 18 months to close a deal. I would say that you might want a person with higher, that is higher on the patience drive, because they're willing to stick to this client and the sales process for a long period of time. Somebody with really low patience might get bored and just drop the sale because they're not seeing results. So now that we have them in our organization, what do we do to keep them there? Now, I believe most people come to work wanting to be engaged and motivated. I really do. Looking for and securing a new job is the hardest job ever. And particularly in sales, I believe the key is the relationship between the salesperson and their sales manager that makes or breaks a salesperson's motivation. Salespeople don't really leave their company. They leave their boss. And it's the sales manager's job to properly learn how to manage their people. That's why they're the manager. Now, you all may recognize this. This is the golden rule. Treat others how you would like to be treated. I was raised on this rule, and it was really difficult for me to unlearn this rule. Because here's takeaway number 2. Treat others how they would like to be treated. And particularly in sales, if you want to keep a salesperson motivated, then treat them how they would like to be treated. Let that sink in. So, what does that look like for a new account hunter? For a new account hunter, to learn how to manage them, first look at the widest factors, both high and low, widest from the midpoint. So that's the dominance factor on the high and the low patience factor. So for this person to manage them, give them independence. Like I said with Star Sally, what's my number? 1.6 million, got it. Don't put handcuffs on them. Don't tell them the way they need to do things. Let them have control of their own activities and let them do their thing. Additionally, this is a person who needs a lot of variety. They don't like to sit idle. They work well under pressure. So challenge them, and that'll keep them motivated. I don't want to negate the other 2 factors either. Again, this person has high extroversion. They require social interaction, which usually means they like FaceTime. Let them talk things out with you. And they also have low formality. Again, freedom from rigid structure. And what I might do with a person, if I have a number of low salespeople, is perhaps give them, have a sales administrative person that perhaps proofs all proposals for people that exhibit this behavior. Because usually what I would find with someone like Rockstar Sally is a lot of typos in her proposal. That would make me nuts. But she didn't really care about that. She just cared about closing the deal. And so maybe help them with their low attention to detail by having someone else proof their proposals. Now I want to make another point, which is really important. If you don't manage someone the way they need to be managed, and I'll use the example of Rockstar Sally, if I had micromanaged her or forced her to perhaps conform to my way of selling, what do you think would have happened? Now, I know all you're muted, so you can't tell me, but I'll tell you what would have happened. She would have quit eventually, probably in less than a year, and she would have taken her book of business as well as her ability to get business that no one else could close and go to the competition. And I certainly didn't want that. So think about that in terms of how you're going to manage someone and how you keep them motivated. You need to let them, you're going to hire them for a certain behavior. You need to let them exhibit that behavior because it's how they are successful. Now, for existing account farmers, again, how do we manage them? Start with the widest from the center drives. And in this case, it's the extroversion drive, the B drive. And on the low side, again, it's also the low patience drive. So this person, high extroversion, they need social interaction. I would let them, give them the face time. These people, I would recognize them when they do a good job. People with a high extroversion and low dominance, they need and want encouragement. So make sure you do that. This person also, if you'll notice, they have high formality. So this person likes to do things correctly. So make sure that unlike the hunter, this person likes to know what best practices are. They like to know what success looks like on the job. So make sure you share that with them. So I'm going to leave you with this quote, which I think is very effective, particularly in sales. It's very appropriate. Average managers play checkers, while great managers play chess. In chess, each type of piece moves in a different way, and you won't win if you don't think carefully about how you move the pieces. Great managers know and value the unique abilities and even the eccentricities of their employees, and they learn how to best integrate them into a coordinated plan of attack. So if you're a sales manager, which game are you playing? Are you playing checkers and treating everybody the same? Or are you managing people as if you're playing chess and understanding how each of your salespeople move and managing them so that you can coordinate your plan of attack? So at this point, I will take questions if there are any. Although let's see, how do I, let's see, are there any questions here? No questions? Well, let me tell you one other thing first that I want to share with you, because this happened to me a lot. So a lot of people will take their best salesperson and then make them the sales manager. I think that's a bad idea. Now, and in most cases, when I saw that happen, it failed miserably. Now, why is that? Because great salespeople are all about themselves. They're not necessarily about the team and making other people shine. They like to be the center of attention. So good salespeople, when they were asked to be promoted to sales manager, usually said, why would I even want to be sales manager? I can make more money as a salesperson, and I'm not interested in anybody else. But the salespeople that were more about their ego and liked the idea of getting promoted to sales manager didn't think about that. And then when they were on the job a couple months, they realized it wasn't for them. So don't promote your highest salesperson to sales manager. Now, coming up, we have a bunch of events coming up. We'll be at the L3 conference on March 13th. And there's 2 closed workshops coming up, Managing People to Perform and Customer Focused Selling. And then we have a webinar on March 25th called Midlife Career Changes at 2 p.m. I think that's going to be a great one. And on April 21st and 22nd, we have a PI Jedi training. So that's all for today. I hope you took some valuable nuggets away. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning. I thank you for your participation in the Center for Victory's webinar. And if you'd like more information, please visit our website at centerforvictory.com or call us at 724-762-8383.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, Ty.
Yeah, sorry I jumped on a little late there. I unfortunately got caught up on a phone call with a customer, but I missed a little bit at the beginning. But we're talking about the hunter versus farmer mentality, and I myself am going through a situation with a salesman where absolute technical, and we need to be technical in our profession. Very good, high percentage close, but he exhibits a lot of farming type of mentality, but does really well. Do you think that a person like that, if I'm actually at a crossroads myself where I need to talk with them about going out and finding extra business, do you think that a person like that with such a almost to a T farmer mentality like you showed will have a very hard time with doing that?
So I'm going to say two things about that, Ty. One, people are complex, right? So nobody is totally one thing or the other. I mean, they're really complex. Two, we all adapt in our jobs. So if this person has a farmer type profile and you need them to act like a hunter, you're going to have to coach them to that role. And you're going to ask them, how can you be more how can you take a more leadership role in your own activities and go out and make the business happen? You're going to have to reinforce that, because this person, a lot of people who are more about we than me, right? That's what we say when someone has a low dominance. How can you get them to be a leader? And one, as I said before, to motivate them, they need a lot of encouragement. So I would coach them and try it. Coach them to that role to go out and get new business and knock on doors, so to speak, and let them know that if they have a farmer profile, they're going to have a high formality. So let them know that maybe they have to knock on 10 doors or 20 doors to finally get a yes. And so I remember we used to train our salespeople that say, to get one sale, you have to have 20 prospective clients. So every time someone tells you a no, say thank you, because you're one step closer to your yes. And so if they know that that's the process, they may be more less sensitive to rejection, and they may, if they know what success looks like and what the process looks like. Does that help? Any other questions? If you have another question, just unmute yourself. Well, I think it doesn't look like we have any other questions. Again, I thank you for your time. And everybody have a terrific rest of the day. And don't touch your face. Ty, you would have had to be at the beginning to get that. So thank you very much.